Talk heavy. Yeah, talk heavy, huh? Talk heavy, Heavy going live from the field with the realness. Heavy on the scene, huh? Talk heavy, teasy. Heavy going live from the field with the realness. Heavy going live from the field with the realness.
What's going on, beautiful people? Kara Savvy here, Savvy Kara on Instagram and Facebook. And this is, you already know, literally Just Talk Radio. To acknowledge with knowledge. Episode 73 Key Strategies for Success with a Career Toolkit, created by Mark Hirschberg. Mark is the author of the Career Toolkit, skills that no one taught you. With an education at MIT, Mark has spent his career launching and fixing anything from startups to Fortune 500 companies and academia. So, Mark definitely knows what it means to actually fulfill your ideas of success and having a successful career. And at the start of 2022, I know that's something that we all can take into account, whether we are looking to enhance our current careers or even take our careers to the next level or talk about or discuss within ourselves starting something new. So, Mark is going to give us some tools and some tricks and some key practices on what we can do to be successful in any area of our careers. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to share some tips with your listeners.
That's awesome. And I know they'll be excited to hear them. I, for one, am definitely excited because as someone who is discovering herself as a podcaster and a blogger, I really wanted to make sure that I had the successful tools that I needed to be successful even in my journalism career. So, what inspired you to write the Career Toolkit?
I've been teaching these skills for 20 years at MIT's Career Success Accelerator. Now, these aren't things that I just dreamt up one night. They're actual skills that we've learned in surveys we've done to corporate America. We've done this at MIT, and similar surveys of other universities have found the 10 skills I cover in the book are skills companies are looking for, not just in students right out of school, but in everyone they hire at all levels. And so recognizing that these skills like leadership, communication, networking, negotiating, these are skills we don't cover in most of our education, so people aren't getting them. We created this program at MIT 20 years ago, and I've been teaching it for the past 2 decades. But I know this applies to more people. I wanted to reach a larger audience. Now, I first thought I was writing up some notes to share with the students and put online, but as what I thought was 20 pages of notes became 40 pages and 80, and pretty soon over 100, I realized this is a book. But my goal is to help more people achieve these skills and achieve success in their career.
And I really think that's phenomenal, especially offering that at a higher education level. So, why isn't this something that's taught?
That's a really good question. High school really was designed for the Industrial Revolution. When we left the farms in the middle to late 19th century and had to go into what were then early forms of factories, we needed the basic skills, reading, writing, arithmetic. But that's it. You didn't need higher order skills. You didn't have to know how to network to work on a factory floor. So there hasn't been a lot of emphasis at the high school level. At the college level, now that's where you focus on a particular discipline. And the reason for this is because colleges are run by professors. I like professors. I work with them. They're great people. But professors are very narrow in their focus. They are professors of accounting or marketing or chemistry, some narrow area where they just focus on getting deep knowledge. And so what they do is they say, well, if you want to be a marketer, okay, you can show up and we'll teach you through our classes. If you take these starting classes, some intermediate classes, a few advanced classes, if you do all this, we're going to hand you a piece of paper that says you have a bachelor's of marketing. All that is saying is you have acquired a certain level of knowledge in marketing. They're not even saying you're a good marketer. They're certainly not saying you're a good employee. They're just saying you have a certain level of knowledge. And that was fine circa 1950, where you were that cog in the machine, where you sat there and you had your inbox and your outbox on the desk, and your boss would say, do this. And you'd say, yes, sir. And you do it and say, what next, sir? But in today's world, we're a lot more dynamic. We have to be proactive in thinking for ourselves. We don't just wait for a boss to say, this is what to do, call me when you're done. And we work in these cross-functional teams. So a whole new set of skills are necessary, not just you understand marketing or accounting or chemistry. You need these other skills, but the university system has not caught up to this change. And so for historical reasons, it's not being taught at most high schools or universities.
And you know what? I think the career toolkit offers a more realistic approach to actually having a career versus spending that amount of time in school, like you said, just to obtain a piece of paper. And you spoke about dynamics, and there is a section of the career toolkit where you speak on interpersonal dynamics. Now, more specifically, I feel that interpersonal communication is essential in any work relationship. So, how does having sound interpersonal communication skills affect one's career?
Unfortunately, communication failures underpin so much of what we do. When projects fail, very often it's because there was a miscommunication, a misunderstanding. I thought I explained to you exactly what I wanted us to do. You heard something different, and you did a good job, but we had a miscommunication, and that was the problem. So communication really underpins all our work. And the way I think of it is, imagine if I were going to France. I'm talking to a bunch of people in France. Now, I don't speak French, so I'm going to have to speak English. And to people who aren't native English speakers, every time they listen to me, they're going to think, okay, I have to translate from English to French. That takes some mental taxation, some mental work. And then what's left can focus on the message. I think of it like a computer processor. If your processor is spending half its time doing translation, you only have 50% of your processing power to do the actual work. So every time we're communicating in a different language, we have this problem. Now, generally with my coworkers, we don't have the issue of they speak French, not English. I work in the United States. People speak English. But it's not language per se. It's mental models we carry around. That might be technical jargon. I work in software engineering. If I throw out, oh, well, that's an S3 issue with scaling as we're trying to shard some databases, you're going to say, what? Well, I know what that means. All the guys I work with, we're all technical people. I'm just going to throw you those terms and let you try to figure out what's meaning there. And so that's one example of the problem. It's a very simple example. Other examples are communication styles. We have some people who are very rambly. Some people are very concise. We have people who communicate through analogy. And so we all have different communication styles, whether it's words or styles or just communication models that we use. By understanding different ones, I can communicate in your language. I can effectively speak French to you, so I don't put that tax on your brain as we're talking. I can communicate in your language, making it more effective. So understanding how different people communicate and learning to communicate in their styles are going to make you much more effective. If you don't, you're asking everyone else to do more work, and they're going to be less receptive to your message.
And you know what? I think that is key and really a pivotal point to make in efforts to communication on any front, because you have to be able to understand where someone else is coming from and their point of view to be able to make sure you make that connection to one another. And after all, folks, that is what it is about. It's about understanding each other to have a great form of communication and being able to communicate with one another. So, Mark, if someone was seeking to start a new career, like something they've never even thought of before, what's the first or key component that they should really consider?
Talk to people in that industry. Talk to people who do that job. We get conceptually what they're doing at a high level, sure, but talk to people actually doing it. Ask them questions about it. What's it actually like? Day to day, what are you doing? First, you're going to discover, wow, there's a lot more meetings than I thought, or more paperwork, or maybe something that's going to scare you off from it. But also, you might find, oh, it's really important that you have a good set of connections in the industry, or no one tells you this, but you have to really get good at this particular skill. It's really important. So they're going to uncover those things that might not be so obvious, that might not be in job descriptions, that might be some technical skill, something about the job itself, some knowledge, some tool you need to use, or it might be about the subtle things like, well, communication is exceptionally important here. So teaching, we think, well, teaching, right, I just have to understand what the concept is and how to explain it, but relating to, let's say, 7-year-olds is probably really important. That's not explicitly in a job description for a teacher, but I think probably an elementary school teacher will tell you being able to connect to those kids, to engage them at their level, is critically important. So talk to people in the field to find the unwritten things that will make or break your success.
And I think that's awesome. And I think that's something that we all definitely need to remember before we even think about what career path or what journey that we want to take. So you created an app for the career toolkit, which I think is phenomenal. How does it relate to the book itself?
One of the things I found when I've read lots of business books over the years, and this applies to a lot of business, self help, a lot of nonfiction in general. You read a book and you say, wow, that's really great. There's all these good tips. And then you forget it 3 weeks later because you read another book, you're busy, you have other things to do. Authors like me, our job isn't just to say, get some dead trees. We're not selling you paper, we're selling you ideas. We want to help you change and grow and become more successful. Now, the book will help you do that, and we go into detail about how to do things, but I want you to retain it. And so the app helps you better retain the content. When you install the app, it's free from the Android and iPhone stores. You download the app. As long as you open it once a month, just so we know you're active, it's going to pop up each day one of the tips from the book. It's like a daily affirmation. And so it's going to pop up at a time you set. You don't even have to open the app. It's just in the notifications you get on your phone. And oh, right, that's a good tip about networking. Oh, right, there's a good reminder about leadership. You just look at, swipe it away, takes you 2 seconds, but it's going to help keep this top of mind, help you retain what you've been learning instead of, well, I read that and then forgot. So I designed the app to help you get more out of the book.
And it's so funny how the universe works because last week I aired a show about social media and technology and how we're constantly connected to social media and connected to our phones. So, why not be connected to a source and a valuable source of information to really just enhance our lives and enhance our careers and really make us phenomenal people and to gain success? So, what would you say would be the one thing you hope your readers, what's the biggest takeaway from the career toolkit?
That you recognize the value and importance of these skills. And let me illustrate that with a simple example. Suppose you are 25 years old and you say, you know what, I think I should learn to negotiate. I hear that's one of these important skills. So you learn to negotiate, you read my book, you read another book, you take an online class. I'm okay with any of that. Sure, I'd love you to buy my book, but I really want you to get these skills, whatever works best for you. Now imagine you have a job offer for $50,000. But instead of taking, he said, wait, I learned to negotiate. So you go and negotiate with your future manager. And instead of taking it for 50, you negotiate $1,000 more. That's not very big. That's 2%. That's pretty small. So you take the job for 51,000. 5 minutes of negotiating, you got $1,000 more. If you do nothing else, if you sit in that job for 40 years, that one 5 minute negotiation just got you $1,000 more for 40 years. You just earned $40,000 more in your life in 5 minutes with one simple negotiation. Of course, people are saying, there's no way I'm staying in that job for 40 years. And of course, you're right. You're going to have promotions, you're going to have raises, you're going to have other jobs, and you're going to negotiate that as well. You're going to do better on those negotiations. If you learn to negotiate, I'm not talking about being the world's best negotiator. I'm talking about getting a little bit better. You can think about that $1,000 or even larger amounts over your lifetime. You can add tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars to your lifetime earning just by learning to negotiate a little bit better. And now it's easy to see with negotiations. We can do this math, but the same is true for these other skills, for being just slightly better at networking, better at communicating, a little better at leading. No one's going to say, hey, you're a better communicator, here's $1,000 more. But by being a better communicator, you will be put on better projects. You're going to come across better in interviews. You're going to be promoted faster. And of course, that will translate into income and success. So while I use negotiating to illustrate it because the math is easy, really any of these skills, if you just get a little bit better, that's going to have this compounding effect on your career. And it's going to bring you a massive amount of success. So don't be intimidated by there's all these different skills to learn. Just focus, even if you just start with one and get a little bit better at, you're going to achieve significantly more success.
Those are really some phenomenal key practices and some tools that we can all use to be successful. And that one big takeaway I really feel like is if you know how to negotiate, then it means that you know your worth. You know that you have obtained a skill set to place a value on that and be able to negotiate even a price to be more successful. I really think the career toolkit is something that we can all use, and definitely looking into my own book to get my own copy because there are some things in there that I might want to pick up myself. So, Mark, why don't you tell us where we can find the career toolkit and where we can download the app and how we can follow your work?
You can go to my website, thecareertoolkitbook.com. There you can see where to buy the book. You can get in touch with me or follow me on social media from the contact page. You can go to the app page, and that's going to take you to the Android and iPhone stores where you can download the free app. You can get more content from the blog. You can also go to the resources page where there are links to other books I recommend, free online resources, and a number of free downloads to help take you further as you develop these skills. All of this available at thecareertoolkitbook.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. And folks, make sure you guys follow Mark. I'll be following him as well. I'll have him tagged in the show in the description. And make sure you stay on top of being successful. It's 2022. We got to get it. Let's start with the career toolkit. All right. Till next time. Peace.